IRIS Insights are evidence summaries designed to support social services in Scotland. This insight focuses on measuring personal outcomes. In recent years, the Scottish Government has stated that less time should be spent on measuring what goes into services and how much money has been spent, and more on what the funding achieves for individuals and communities. Many social services organisations are familiar with describing what they do and who they work with, but it's also important to describe the changes, benefits, learning or other effects that happen as a result of your work. These are your outcomes. There are three main different types of outcomes. 1. Quality of life. These are outcomes that support an acceptable quality of life, for example, being safe and living where you want. 2. Process outcomes, which refer to the way in which support is delivered. For example, feeling valued and respected or having a say over how and when support is provided. And 3. Change outcomes that relate to improvements in physical, mental or emotional functioning. For example, increased confidence. The following story might help illustrate the different kinds of outcomes in action. Let's take Jean. Jean lives in a residential unit. After an outcomes-focused conversation with her key worker at the unit, it was discovered that Jean used to be a postmistress before she retired. Jean and her key worker decided together that Jean would look after the post for the unit, sorting and delivering it to other residents. This not only gave Jean a sense of purpose, but she also got to know the other residents in the unit, strengthening her social support. In this scenario, working together with the key worker could be described as a process outcome. Jean's increased sense of purpose would be referring to the change outcome, and strengthening Jean's social support would be linked to the quality of life outcome. Research has shown that for people who use services and their families, being involved in defining the outcomes that they want to achieve can be empowering and can result in the support they receive being more relevant. For staff, it can also help gain a greater clarity of purpose. And for organisations, it can help them to reconnect with their value base and ensure that they are really focused on making a difference to people's lives. Measuring outcomes is not enough in itself, but it can provide the missing piece of the information jigsaw in relation to evaluating and improving services. Despite the long-standing policy focus, measuring outcomes remains challenging. Some of the key challenges will be outlined here. The first of those is clarity of purpose. It's important to be clear whether you will be measuring outcomes for improvement or for judgment. In the former case, the information is used as a tin opener for internal use, designed to prompt further investigation and action where needed, and not as a definitive measure of performance in itself. In the latter case, the information is used as a dial, an unambiguous measure of performance where there is no doubt about attribution and which might be linked to explicit incentives for good performance and sanctions for poor performance. The approach you take to measuring outcomes will depend very much on the purpose that you've set out. The second challenge is seen as balancing hard and soft outcomes. Measuring hard outcomes, such as numbers of people gaining employment or attending a training course, gives a limited view of what is being achieved. For example, what would become of the 90-year-old widower who gained the confidence to learn computing skills to write his autobiography for his family? He will neither be getting a job nor going on to an accredited course, yet the soft outcomes keep him active and involved rather than confined to a retirement home. So some outcomes might not describe a change at all. They might be softer than that. They may well involve keeping a situation the same or preventing something from happening. Then there is the third challenge of attribution. How can we concretely say that any effect is due to one particular cause? Using the previous example, how would we know if the widower had gained confidence through the support he was receiving, or from something a family member said to him, or from another environmental cause? The last challenge is also that of variation in service user characteristics. Variations in characteristics of people who use services can lead to challenges in interpretation of data. There are no easy answers to many of the identified challenges of measuring outcomes, but the evidence highlights various recommendations and strategies that can help. And being mindful of these challenges can be a useful starting point in itself. Theory-driven evaluation provides an alternative approach to traditional input-output approaches to evaluation, and it's been suggested that can be better suited to complex real-world interventions. Logic modelling is one example of theory-driven evaluation. This method can help organisations adopt an outcomes approach by improving the clarity about what they are aiming to achieve. Evaluation Support Scotland have produced guides to help support the development of logic models. A project may bring about changes before reaching its final outcome. For example, someone who's using a drugs project is likely to change in various ways before they stop using drugs. It is important to record changes along the way, and logic modelling can help to do this. Another way to overcome the challenges of measurement is to use or design an outcomes tool. There are many outcomes tools. They can be designed with a specific service user group in mind, or can be used more generally with different user groups. Research has shown that a flexible approach is desirable for interventions that are holistic, integrated and geared to the needs of users. Some organisations have reported benefits from designing their own outcomes tools, such as promoting ownership by staff. But others caution against spending too much time on this and instead recommend adapting existing tools. The Coalition of Care and Support Providers in Scotland has produced a guide of existing tools for your information. Tools themselves can include concrete questions and scales which ask people where the person thinks they are in relation to a specified outcome, or other approaches such as talking points adopt a more flexible conversational approach structured around a specific set of outcomes. Another way to overcome the challenges is to use SMART principles. SMART principles generally refer to S being specific, M measurable, A attainable, R relevant, and T time-bound. However, these have been adapted to be more compatible with outcomes approaches. In this instance, S stands for significant, M meaningful, A action-oriented, R rewarding, and T trackable. So to conclude, although outcomes have been prevalent in policy for some time, a range of challenges remain with regard to their measurement. Acknowledging these challenges is a necessary step in progressing towards meaningful measurement. The literature suggests that there is real potential to link outcomes measurement to the organisational value base, and that there are a range of approaches and tools that are emerging to support this. For the full evidence summary, you can find that at www.iris.org.uk.